Welcome back to episode 2 of the park that still doesn't really have a proper name. And we start this episode by deleting half of the work I did in the last few minutes of the previous video. So you can see me struggle with the pathing tool some more. No, today I wanted to try and, well, not as much finish, but at least get the main framework of the entrance plaza done. Get the main facade done, I should say. The little entrance square I talked about last time. I wanted to try and get that done today, as well as kind of make a small start on the entrance plaza of the park itself. So what's behind the entrance, what's in the end gonna be Evershore Harbour. Which I do make a small start on at the end of the video, but don't get your hopes up. I'm genuinely, my gosh, just putting down the paths and, well, putting in the water, which is going to be a main feature, so I guess that's something. But yeah, for now I'm building the main entrance facade. I wanted to continue the colourful theme we kind of started last episode with some more colourful shantytown-ish buildings off to the side of it. Kind of, well, wrapping around the entrance plaza. The original idea was to have some sort of endpoint on both sides, some sort of tower or something like that. And I do end the episode with that on at least one side, but I don't know about the other side. Maybe I'll put one more building there, or just say, this is enough, and turn it into, or transition into, like, the tree line that's going to be hiding the park from view from the parking lot, as is quite often the case in real life, because I want to try and make sure that I don't like over-theme the entrance plaza, or at least not the outside of it, because in the end, as much as I want to create an experience for guests, it's still next to the parking lot, so what you gonna do about it? For the entrance plaza layout, it was kind of inspired by Corvus's recent park. I think it's called Voyager's Adventure. It has this kind of adventure-themed entrance which wraps around a big plaza and then transitions into the parking lots and the roads and stuff like that. Yeah, I really like the layout of that, so I wanted to do that on a smaller scale. Speaking of scale, I am already realizing that I've probably, as much as I wanted this park to be like this smart park, like I said last time, of really good planning and ideas and like a great scope that I can actually reach, I'm already realizing that's not going to be the case. Seeing as I'm doing 2 episodes alone on the entrance building, basically. And I want to try and finish this before Planet Coaster 2 comes out, which is in, well, a little over a month. I'm afraid it's going to be smaller than originally planned, but still, it's going to be great. I am going to finish this park in whatever way, shape or form it needs to be finished. And it's probably going to be cut down. I already cut down the land a bit for myself. You can't see it, and I don't show it in the time-lapse. Again, stupid me, but the area I kind of sectioned off for myself, I already, like, well, didn't half it, but I kind of shrunk it down because I already was able to see that that wasn't going to work out. It was going to be way too much to fill within a month, especially if I want to keep this level of theming and like annoyingly detail-oriented stuff going on. I mean, you can see me fidgeting with the rocks for like half a millimeter of... Oh gosh, okay, no. Yeah, this isn't going to work out if I keep doing that. So it's probably going to be smaller than originally planned. However, I do want to finish it in some way. I just watched Fogg's most recent video. He really hadn't uploaded for like 5 years, and he talked about how he kind of lost touch with Planet Coaster. Not really like fell out of love of it, but he just got distanced from the game. And he also mentioned Jan BK, who is another amazing Planet Coaster creator, who recently started a new park as well, and he was doing these car submissions, so to kind of engage the comments, as well as like have something to fill the car park with. He allowed his subscribers to put down their ideas of cars and they would get put in the park, or well, some of them would. Now, I could just steal that idea, which I am thinking about now. It would be kind of cool to fill the parking lot with like unique cars. So if you do have any ideas for cars, or maybe you want your own personal car in the parking lot, yeah, why not? I'm just going to steal his idea. Feel free to leave a comment, and maybe I'll put it in. But no, he watched that, and Fogg, I should say, he watched Jan BK's video and got inspired to start a new project again, which New Zephyr is amazing. I'm not sure what it is with the recent influx of steampunk builds, because Jan as well, but also now New Zephyr, and maybe it's inspired by like Rookburg at Fantasyland, but I'm not sure. But they look amazing, and it's a style that I am completely unable to pull off because you need a sort of, I don't know, a coordination to not make it look like just a bunch of gears strapped to a wall. And I envy these people so much that they are able to pull that style off, because I really can't. Speaking of the style of what we're building right now, it's again this kind of shanty town piratey vibe with some magical colors. I'm still looking for a way to kind of bring the magical side into it more, because as you might see right now, I'm building this bell tower, and it's mostly just pirate stuff, really, but just very colorful, which just makes it look like kind of a kindergarten version of a pirate shantytown. I'm looking to find a way to make it more magical. Maybe I'll go with some of the TMTK pieces. I currently don't have any TMTK pieces installed, nor do I really intend to use them. Maybe I'll go and use the fonts that are on there, because making letters in this game is just annoying. But I'm really, over the past few years of Planet Coaster being a thing, we really did get a lot of pieces with all the DLC and stuff like that. It's a really fleshed out game, I should say. But yeah, it's well fleshed out, spread out. There's a lot of different pieces you can do a lot with. And in Planet Coaster 2, the fact that scaling is a thing is amazing, because, well, right now you're seeing me struggle with like the small planks and the big planks, and in the new game I'm just going to be able to take one plank and scale it down to fit the exact dimensions I need, and I can't wait. Like in the last video I said I can't wait for the pathing tool, I can't wait for scaling either. It's going to be amazing. And it's also going to allow me and allow us to put in more detail on a smaller scale without it looking unrealistic, I guess. Like right now, if you want to add something like, think of a detail, like adding a bottle to a table or something like that, you're gonna need to use a quite big piece, unless you're using TMTK, but you're gonna need to use a quite big piece and hide it into the floor and have like a tiny low poly corner of it stick out and pretend that's a table. And in the new game, well, with the resort and like Viking themes, I'm gonna guess there's gonna be some sort of vase, or maybe there is even gonna be a bottle, or maybe we'll get like something like the giant champagne bottle with the whole racing theme we got a while back. You can just scale that down, place it on a table, and you'll have a bottle. It's stuff like that is gonna make that game so much more versatile, and it's gonna allow, well, themes to be much more than what they are intended to be, which is kind of the spirit of Planet Coaster, I feel like. Using pieces that they aren't, in a way that they aren't meant to be used. Or at least that's become the spirit over the past few years. Now you'll see me building this little round building, and that was the end piece of the facade. Or at least that's what it's gonna be. I cut out a piece of footage where I tried to put another building beside it, but it just didn't look good. So that's going to be the end of it, and it's going to transition into the tree line or something like that. Or maybe I'll have a bit of a natural feature, something. Nah, I'm not going to do a waterfall, that would be a bit extra, but something like a rock pile or something big to kind of cap off the facade at that side. and the same is going to be on the other side. To kind of, it's going to finish off the facade and also kind of limit the scope of the fact that this is still the parking lot, which, you kind of, I want to try and not theme it too much, because we still have an entire park to go. Speaking of that park, I do have a few plans for it. I keep wanting to say Port Laguna, because that name is just so amazingly thought of by Toverland, but it's not. It's Evershore Harbour. It's inspired by Port Laguna, but it's not. Of course, I'm going to be having Evershore as a themed area, as the kind of the entrance area, but I also want to give it some rides at least. I was thinking of adding a dark ride, but not like the traditional dark ride where it's some slow-moving vehicles or even a coaster that just goes through a building. I was kind of thinking about, what was it? Tomb Raider the ride. I think it was Universal where it was at. They took a top spin from Huss, or at least I think it was also manufactured by Huss. It was the same type of ride at least. And instead of just putting it out there like many do, they completely encapsulated it and themed it to the brim and made this amazing experience once you got inside. But the best part of it was that people really didn't know what they were getting into once they entered the queue. So I kind of want to try and recreate that with a different flat ride. Kind of make it this themed experience and make it a way for the park to just like buy a flat ride. Maybe I'll even put in like a breakdance or something, like the decommissioned fairground ride, and they'll have to theme it up. I was also thinking about the lighthouse, which I mentioned in the last episode, the everlasting beacon that Aethera asked them to build, and maybe incorporating a drop tower into that, but yeah, that might do away from the story a bit. Anyhow, I am continuing on with the facade with this small little building, which is going to get I'd say a pretty cool feature in the end. I can spoil it. It's going to be a big round window. And you'll see me do that in a bit. I put some screens behind that. Now, that was mainly because I didn't really know how to finish it. I wanted to create the stained glass effect that I mentioned in the last episode, but on a smaller scale, because it does give that magical vibe that I'm looking for. But there really aren't great stained glass pieces in the game, apart from the like the loose glass panes you can recolor, but still they're only squares and they are way too big for the scale I'm building on right now. Then there's the fairy tale thing, but that just depicts a king, and I don't want it to depict a king. So I was thinking of adding some custom graphics behind that, maybe even like a video of, I always call it like the Home Alone effect, where it's like these shadow puppets walking around the window because of the curtains and the light behind them. So it would be this kind of stained glass-ish, maybe I'll do stained glass window, where I might make a video of like 10 minutes that loops with like different kind of funny moments in it. Like maybe you'll see a silhouette falling over because another person failed to cast a spell or something like that. Just stuff to keep it lively, stuff to keep it interesting. I was thinking of adding a lot of animatronics as well, but I don't think that's realistic in that sense. As far as this park is realistic, you wouldn't have giant expensive animatronics just being there on the entrance. You'd have them in places where people would actually spend a lot of time looking at them for some sort of plaza or in a ride, of course, or in a ride, next to a ride, but not in a place where people are just, well, ideally, if your operations are great, they're just walking by. They get in and they are welcomed by all this stuff, but they don't really spend a lot of time there. So I wanted to try and get some of that energy still in there with the visuals, which I'm probably going to be making off camera, or maybe I'll do a time lapse of that as well, I don't know. So that's for next episode, I'll add those in. Next episode as well, we're going to be continuing with the entrance plaza, or the park plaza, I should say, and also do the lighthouse, which is kind of inspired by Toverland's. Well, I don't know if it's a lighthouse. The name suggests it is. I think it's called Solaris or Solis, something like that. And it's this round building with a bunch of restaurants in it. But it does also form the highest peak of that area. So I think it's meant to be some sort of lighthouse. And seeing as our story incorporates a lighthouse, it would be perfect to have something similar in this park. But just call it something else, maybe, because the story I've got in my mind, at least for the other themed area that kind of goes off of this one, it focuses a lot on what I called astral magic, or well, what ChatGPT called astral magic, because I thought of the story myself for the most part, but I did ask ChatGPT to help me in some ways because I'm not that creative to think of an entire story. The story that I ended up with does focus a lot on like the universe, or like stars and the moon. So maybe I could call the lighthouse something with Luna instead of Sol, because Solaris, Sol is sun. Maybe I could do something like that. These are the screens I talked about where I'm going to try and add in the visuals. For now I'm just putting on curtains. Or no, I ended up putting on the tiki-chiki stuff and pausing it on the leaves because that was kind of tropical. I did the same with the screens in the information booth, so I need to add some custom graphics to that as well. Now as for the rides in the park itself, I am kind of aiming for something like 10 rides, which isn't a lot, I know, but that is excluding stuff like shows. And I might go over that number if I have a place where I think a flat ride would fit really well. But I don't want to chuck in rides just for the fun, just for the cause of it. I don't know, I don't speak English. I do want to keep them sort of, well, meaningful. Have put in the same type of thought into every flat ride as I'm doing into every coaster, for example. Now with this building coming to an end, I'm going to move on to the toilet building, which is something a lot of people forget in their entrances, but the second people get out of their car rides, they might have been traveling like hours to get to the park. They're going to want to go to the toilet. Some people, or a lot of people, myself included, always forget to put those outside of the park itself. But yeah, no, realism take, they need to be there. Now, it's pretty late in the video for this, but I wanted to thank you for the reception of the first video. It's as I've been recording this, it's like 170 views or something, which is way more than I expected. I kind of feel like I created this YouTube channel a while back. I think it was like 13, 14 when I did, maybe even earlier, to create, in hindsight, really awful Minecraft videos. And every comment I got and every like I got, I would just get completely giddish. And I kind of feel the same again. It's really weird. Every comment I get, I installed the YouTube Studio app again, and every comment that comes in, I'm just smiling and, oh look, somebody watched my video. And I wanted to thank you for doing that. Also, I wanted to thank the first commenter. I think the name is RCM the second or RCM the II, but I'm guessing it's the first one, who said he really liked the video, and I thank you for it, because it really did, well, in part motivate me to start this video again. Now, I am kind of struggling with the colors in the area, because I want to avoid making it look like some sort of Sesame Street set with like 1,000 different colors. So you'll kind of see me going towards the teal and yellow colors a lot. I might redo the colors once I get the entire facade kind of in and in its final place, but I'll do that off camera because that's just very boring to watch. To kind of make it more unified and have like a clear color palette, I guess, because as much as I want this to be this happy pirate shanty town, very colorful, very magical, I don't want it to be an assault on the eyes. Now, talking future of the park, like I said, it's gonna be smaller than initially planned. I already cut out a bit of the area I intended to use, but I still want to get some themed areas in. The Evershore Harbour being one of them, and the other being this dark forest area with like I think it's gonna be like a ruined city or a ruined temple or something like that. Like really a classical adventure kind of spooky style. With these ruins of an old civilization which probably also used magic, but somehow came to cease to exist, somehow came to an end. And the ride in there is probably, or one of the rides in there is probably going to tell you the story about how it came to an end. So that's kind of the antithesis. Is that a word? Is that the word I was looking for earlier? I think it is. To Evershore Harbour. And I also want to try and add another area, but I'm not really sure on what I want to add. Like the Dark Forest and Evershore are going to be polar opposites of each other, so that's almost logical to put in. But it's boring if those are the only two areas, so I need something else which kind of still falls into the same realm of this. Well, I'm basically creating a Toverland knockoff, so why not keep it all like magic themed? With the magic though, I want to try and create original stories. I absolutely love what Toverland has done with Avalon, which is like the King Arthur kind of world, but I want to try and keep the stories sort of original and not like, well, of course it's going to be based off of other magical properties, but keep it kind of like only original stories and original worlds. Now, the sign you just saw me put on, it sucks that Planet Coaster doesn't have FlexiColor for all items, because the little sign with the skull would be amazing if it wasn't like this weird yellowish... Oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking for like 20 minutes and I'm already losing my voice. Or my ability to talk, rather. It's this weird yellowish green color, and it just does not fit with the sort of color theme I do have going on. But just the look of it was amazing, so I really wish they would be FlexiColor, but alas. I think they are trying to do more FlexiColor stuff in Planet Coaster 2, with, of course, exceptions to some items. But the fact that they have, I think the purple rocks we saw in a lot of the videos and trailers up until now, those are going to be FlexiColor, which does mean you get colored rocks in any way, so that's amazing. With the rocks we currently have in this game, you really need to pick your style. I of course went with the like sandy rocks. I don't know what they are meant to be. I think it was like taiga, is that the word? Which they were originally added into. But they do give off this kind of sandstone vibe and like this beachy area. Now you'll see me placing the rocks in between the houses as well. That's purely just to hide the area behind it, which is going to be the park. But I also want to try and add a lot of foliage in there. Make it look really overgrown and really natural, like it's been there a while. They settled this city years or decennia ago, and it's been there a while. It's been overgrown, it's been kind of, well, not taken over by nature, but these are like magicians. They appreciate nature, they get their powers from nature, so I'll make that look, and I'll make that apparent from the looks as well. Now I'm kind of teasing you with this little bit, thinking I'm going to be finishing this, but we're already nearing the end of the video. I'm really just putting in the path and the little bay in a bit. These, again, are going to be lined with facades and shops and entrances to dark rides, and maybe I'll put in a ride as well that kind of hops over the buildings a bit. But mainly this is just meant to be the entrance to the park. Now after this, I am leaving you, so I am gonna try and record some pretty shots of the new buildings. let me know your thoughts about what you think of the video and what I should do for the next one. And leave me a name for the park, because I still really don't have one. So I'll see you next time, and thank you for watching. Bye bye.